We're having a moment in cold storage, and to the secret agent on the run, we're saying good luck, have fun, and don't die. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom!
Yeah, you can probably hear the laughter in my voice there, because that just made me chuckle slightly, Van, ending with good luck, have fun, and don't die.
Don't die, yeah.
One of the movies we are looking at this week, of course, on Off Screen. Welcome back to another episode. We've got loads to talk about today. We're looking at Man on the Run, The Moment, Cold Storage. I mean, Van, when we first kind of spoke before we came on air, like, you're dead excited about this week.
Do you know what? Actually, I'm even more excited now. I'm looking at the top 10 for the week, and I'm just thinking to myself, I can't remember the last time this happened, where every single thing in the top 10, UK, Ireland, box office top 10, I have seen. Every single
Hurrah!
thing. I know, how rarely that's been. It's been a while, hasn't it? Hey, we're back, baby.
It
okay.
All right, well, let's dive straight in there then and see what the top 10 is looking like this week. At number 10, your favourite movie of all time, Van, Avatar, Fire and Ash. Actually, you didn't think it was that bad, to be fair, did you?
No, I didn't. It was fine. It was just more of the second one. You know what I mean? And then the second one I wasn't particularly wowed by because I wasn't particularly wowed by the first one. Like, cool, these movies exist. It's for the fans of it. I'm genuinely excited. Good for them. You know, there's more of this. For me, it's still this sort of sub-militarized Fern Gully type thing that James Cameron's been kind of tucked away doing for 20 odd years now, and it's just weird. I miss James Cameron being James Cameron. He did the Avatar thing. Move on now. Let other people do the sequels. But it's perfectly fine.
9 weeks, I mean, not surprisingly, it smashed the box office with 42 million quid, which, to be fair, though, that's probably a small proportion of how much it cost to make.
Well, I mean, it's also had the Christmas bump as well, because it was the Christmas movie, wasn't it? And then post-Christmas, you get the returnee sort of like real hardcore fans, because this brand does seem to attract some. There are people like dress up as Na'vi and stuff like that. You know, there are hardcore fans for this out there. I mean, Disneyland, is it Disneyland that has like Pandora as part of it now?
Oh, yeah, actually, I think you're probably right.
Yeah. It is, right? Yeah.
Well, at number 9, Whistle. That's been out just 1 week. 233 grand so far after 1 week.
Cheap and cheerful, like sub-2000s kind of teen slasher type thing, but with a sort of Final Destination-y kind of death is coming for you one by one kind of event. But perfectly fine, you know, fun kind of thing. I used to live for this stuff when I was younger, you know what I mean? When we used to get one of these every week, and half of them starred Josh Hartnett. You know, like that kind of thing, right?
And then you had to remember to rewind them before you took them back to Blockbuster.
Exactly that, you know what I mean? This was what the DVD era was made for. And I got kind of nostalgic for that, but so I had a good time with it. It was fun. It had some inventive stuff, some really nasty bits in it. I had a good time.
So, next is number 8, Stitchhead. That's only been out a week as well. Slightly more than Whistle at 264,000. So, again, not bad.
This is one I think, because it's half term this week, isn't it? So this is one that I think like young kids in particular will enjoy. It's sort of like kind of like a Paranorman or an Igor type thing. It's an animated sort of set in the Frankenstein kind of mythos kind of a movie. And it's about kind of the Igor-like assistant figure who in this case joins the circus. Like I say, your son would love this. Like, you know what I mean? It's the kind of movie you'd put on your son would think would be great, I'm sure. Has that sort of Hotel Transylvania kind of vibe, a little bit cheaper, but with a weirdly much sharper, more British sense of humour to it. So I think worth seeing if you can.
So that's at number 8. And number 7, a movie that I've seen a lot of people going to see this week, alongside what is this week's number 1. Number 7 is Hamnet. 6 weeks, 17.5 million.
I actually revisited that this past weekend, this past few days. And yeah, do you know what? It's so obvious a Best Actress winning performance. Like, it's so obvious that this is the exact, where you can see the Oscar clips kind of like in the movie for Jessie Buckley. She's too good in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those, like this is the one she gets the Oscar. She's fantastic in this movie. And Paul Mescal, I kind of appreciated more on the second viewing, I thought, as well. Actually. But yeah, Hamnet I thought was a really gripping, really heartfelt, really sorrowful kind of exploration of the different methods, the different ways of dealing with grief in two people. And I thought it was a really affecting movie. Again, Jessie Buckley will absolutely take a statue home for that.
Number 6 this week is Zootopia 2. That's taken nearly 34 million quid. But it has been out for 12 weeks and it has got a bit of a cult following.
A bit of a cult. I wouldn't describe them as a cult following. I mean, if you're in theme parks and things, I think cult fandom is kind of long in the distance for you, kind of a thing. And fair play to it, you know what I mean? It's one of those things, it's like Cars. It's like, even if you don't personally like Cars, you can absolutely see why Cars makes all the money in the world because, you know what I mean, it's got that Disney Pixar kind of thing going for it. And also, it's a broad enough concept. You're like, yeah, fair play. I can understand why kids would be really into that. I kind of have that with Zootopia 2, which kind of feels like peddling something really phoned in versus what the first movie was. The balance is way off in the second one for me between that sort of Roger Rabbit kind of detective mystery type thing and the sort of buddy cop comedy. And the first movie did that so well. The first movie's kind of like Rush Hour in a way. But the second movie, I think, misses the balance quite a bit for my liking. But again, for the younger kids who just want more of Zootopia, fair play. You get to see more of the world. I can imagine that's enough to satisfy.
Yeah, my little boy absolutely loved it. He's 7. I'd say perfect age for it. Right then, top 5 now. The Housemaid, 8 weeks it's been out, 31 million that's taken.
Sydney. I saw this. I did see this back after reviewing it, and yeah, tons of fun. This one, like, really tons of fun. I mean, absolute trash, complete trash, but tons of fun. And you know, Amanda Seyfried just goes unhinged in it, and just bags of fun. I had a great time with The Housemaid. I mean, apparently they are adapting the sequel, at least the first sequel. I forget what it's called, actually. But that one's getting adapted. I think I read the plot synopsis and just could not work out how you'd make a movie out of that, but sure. Then again, I live for the idea that they might make the Crazy Rich Asians books into, you know, sequels. So we will, you know, I live to be surprised.
At number 4 this week, I think you liked this one. Send Help. 3 weeks it's been out. No, 16.5 million. It's just took one over.
Yeah. Loved, sir. I bloody loved Send Help. Oh man, what a ride Send Help was. This is the one that was like Misery on a desert island.
Yeah.
You know, with the boss and that, yeah, just great fun. Rachel McAdams, Dylan O'Brien, Sam Raimi directing, and, you know, you had the Bill Pope cinematography, you had that editing and the Danny Elfman score. It's just so much fun. Especially if you're me and you grew up with that sort of video store Sam Raimi kind of mentality, it's just nice to see this big polished version of that, like a throwback to the kind of Sam Raimi movies of yesteryear, but like given Hollywood grade, like a studio backing. It's really fun to see, especially after Drag Me to Hell, which I haven't even had a chance to revisit in a while, and I want to, because I think that is a seriously underrated movie.
Number 3, Crime 101. That's been out a week, and that's nearly at 1.5 million. In fact, all the top 3 are all brand new movies this week.
Yeah. Well, we've been kind of starved. The release schedule, they've been kind of quiet for a while, except for Primate, which did come out, and no bugger went to see it. I am so disappointed in you, British public. How dare you? That movie was so fun. There was something wrong with Ben, and it was a blast. Anyway, number 3, Crime 101. This was the one that was sort of sub-Heat, kind of sub-Den of Thieves, with Chris Hemsworth and Halle Berry and Mark Ruffalo. And good stuff, but nothing particularly iconic. You know what I mean? It's one of the better Heat, Den of Thieves knockoffs now. Den of Thieves is arguably the one that got closest to. But it's one of those. It's wearing its Michael Mann fandom on its sleeve. I don't really think there's a real audience that are going to go theatrical for this, but I think it'll do gangbusters on streaming alongside The Rip. You know what I mean? Number 2 is Goat, which is the basketball playing goat movie set in the B&M knockoff version of the Zootopia universe, which I absolutely hated and despised. It just went on, and it wasn't funny, and it was hideous to look at, and they'd slowed the frame rate down so they could dupe you into thinking it was like from the Spider-Verse guys. It was crap. I'm sorry, it was just crap.
Number 1 this week is the movie I saw 2 people on social media this week asking if it was safe for them to take their grandma to go and see Wuthering Heights.
I mean, 2 people asked that. Two, that's a weird request to hear once. I think hearing it twice, I start to question your social circle. Indeed.
They're not people I know, I'll be honest.
Okay, fair enough. But Wuthering Heights, which I really liked, but I seem to be in the minority on this one. which is not a position I in a billion years would have expected to have been in. I would never have expected that's where I would sit on the popular take on Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights, which actually, the more you know, I kind of wish they'd done this with the Zack Snyder DC movies, where the actual artist is coming out and saying, look, this isn't the adaptation of the work. This is the adaptation of my memory of reading the work. And you're like, okay, fair enough. So it's not the actual thing. It's just an alt version of, okay, I'll accept that, rather than you make me accept that Henry Cavill is actually meant to be the official Superman, which is nonsense. But there is that kind of vibe going for it in hindsight with Wuthering Heights, which as a movie in its own right is this sort of anime-framed, Charlie XCX blaring, fantasist, Madonna 90s girl pop erotica take on Bronte's Wuthering Heights. And I don't know what more you could really ask for from it. As I said before, Margot Robbie looks great in a series of corsets and does some pouting. Jacob Elordi does a lot of smouldering and grabbing where appropriate and as eroticized as possible. And the whole thing's building to a lot of smuts and heartbreak. Like, fair play, did the job. I was entertained for its runtime. The end.
Well, it's sitting on 7.6 million after 1 week, so we knew it was going to do well. Right, that's the UK and Ireland current top 10 this week. Let's dive into our first movie. I won't lie, when I first saw this, I did think, because it's listed as a Portuguese period drama. It
is a Portuguese period drama, yes.
Secret Agent.
Yes, the Secret Agent, which has snuck into the Oscars. This has become quite a heavy hitter at this year's Academy Awards. Portuguese movie, set in... sorry, it's a Brazilian movie. Sorry, they speak Portuguese. Sorry, I meant to correct you. So it's set in 1977 Brazil, under the totalitarian regime, and it follows a sort of a university technology expert who is played by Wagner Moura, who is been nominated for Best Actor for this. It's worth noting, and he's returned to his hometown, and he's connecting with the sort of rebellious underground in order to smuggle himself and his son out of the city and from under the regime's control. And he sort of takes on cover jobs and positions in various different positions around the city and gets to know the characters of the scene, of the time, and of this sort of regime and the sort of a low-like structure around it as he goes. I will say it's very good. It's a really good movie, right? It's fantastically made. It looks the part. Like I was soaked up in it. And Wagner Moura, actually, despite, speaking entirely in Portuguese in this, you go along with the performance so much that you can completely understand how this is a Best Actor nominated performance. However, the thing that's massively working against those two massive thumbs up is the fact that this is 2 hours and 41 minutes long.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a bit of a sting. You know what I mean? And the sheer, and it's very slow about that. Like it doesn't mean that it has 2 hours and 41 minutes worth of story to tell you, because it spends a lot of its time laboring and allowing the film to breathe far too long. I understand wanting to give the film a minute to breathe, but this allows it to go far too long, far too naturalistic, and it just drags the pace to a screeching halt. And that just put me off. And there's a shame. It's like that performance, the story, I was in, but it wore me down.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've watched the trailer, and there seems to be a lot of B-roll being used. Is that what you mean by it sort of drags its heels a little bit?
It just feels like there's a lot of stuff that should have been on the cutting room floor kind of thing. It's just been left in, Yeah.
Well, if you want to check out The Secret Agent yourself, it is in cinemas from today. Right. Next, we're going to look at Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. We'll see what Van thought. Stay where you are.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. We're on to our next movie, and it's called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. And with a title like that, I want to know what it's all about, Van. Over to you.
I kind of love that you just chuckle saying the title. That's the most adorably you thing, Mr. Ball. Is you have a little schoolboyish chuckle every time you say it out loud. Okay, so it's the new movie from Pirates of the Caribbean and, most amusingly to me, Mouse Hunt director Gore Verbinski. And it stars Sam Rockwell. And the idea here is one night in Los Angeles at a diner, a strange, homeless-looking man wearing sort of tin foil and bolted together bits of circuitry and things walks into a diner, shuts the doors behind him, and yells at the crowd and tells them he is from the future. He has a bomb, and he is from the future. And he is there for the 117th time. He has done this night over and over and reset and try and do it over in order to save the human race from an oncoming threat from an artificial superintelligence. And in order to save the world, he needs a specific combination of a random configuration of people from this diner. There are like 41 people or 71 people in the diner, and he's gone through it 117 times with this person and that person and that person over there, and the combination hasn't worked for him. And he's back for the 117th time in this diner that he's taken hostage to work out which is the combination of his hostages who can help him save the human race from an artificial superintelligence. That's ostensibly the plot. There is more to it. I will get into it, but I'll let you hear the clip first. This is Sam Rockwell as the man from the future, giving us the lay of the land.
This is my 117th time in this diner doing this exact speech. Can you imagine that? 117 times I've tried to get through to all of you. It's kind of like your favorite movie, Jim Groundhog's Day. That's your favorite movie, isn't it, Jim? Yeah?
Yeah.
How did you? I have experienced this night over and over again, each time with a different combination of people in this diner. And every time we have failed, I have held some of you in my arms and watched the very life flicker from your eyes. Some of you I even consider family. I've done this so many times. I know some of you better than you know yourselves.
This is the sort of movie I feel like I would really love.
Now, I'm kind of with you on that. No, because it has that wacky sci-fi hook where, you know, the movie initially gives you some room for interpretation. Are they cape-axing you, is the question. Is this real? Is he on the level? You know, obviously at a certain point you kind of have to tip the hat. Otherwise, it's not a movie kind of thing. But for the most part, obviously, certain movies have gotten away with the ambiguity. Now, this movie obviously tips its hat very early on by quickly segging into 3 what seem to be basically 15-minute long Black Mirror episodes that focus on members of this group that he's selected and the stories that have gotten them there. And they're quite broad science fiction stories in that very Black Mirror-like way, in a way that actually Black Mirror would do quite rarely, as in it would seem kind of too comedic in a sense. And we get this. There's a story with Michael Pena, for instance, a story with Haley Lou Richardson. There's a story with, and that's kind of building towards this third act that then becomes an extended mishmash of The World's End and 12 Monkeys. And the sort of mixture never quite works. It kind of flows from one tone and idea to the next, being held together only very loosely by Sam Rockwell doing the Zaphod Beeblebrox from Hitchhiker's Guide, 2005 kind of performance, the high energy performance that he does. And I just felt like that was a real disappointment for me, because I'm kind of like you. I would have thought I would have loved this.
Yeah, that's the vibe I was getting from the trailer, is that I would absolutely want to sort of watch this Sunday afternoon, raining, just a bit of a giggle. So does it not have like out loud belly laughs in this? Because that's how I feel from the trailer.
I mean, I felt it's a decent movie. It's forgettable. Like there are bits now. It does feel like a scrapbook of bits from better movies. You know what I mean? Like, it's like all those movies I've just mentioned, like, I'd rather watch all of those. It reminded me at one point of The Watch with Vince Vaughn and Richard Ayoade. And I'm like, actually, yeah, you know what? I'd rather be watching that than this right now, because that at least kind of knew what it was. And you know what I mean? At least it knew how crass it wasn't. It knew how dark to play. This kind of just wants to jump all over the show, eventually turning into this insane Blade Runner style person of interest, existential pseudo waffle, and it just doesn't pull it off. It really doesn't. Although I got to nerd out with Mark about 12 Monkeys after we watched this. That was a nice moment. Actually, didn't expect that in my week. 12 Monkeys. How often do you get to chat about 12 Monkeys to someone?
Not very often at all. I would imagine you don't often get to go and see a movie called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die either.
Which, to be fair, I'm going to say I liked it, but it wasn't. It doesn't get above like a 3.5 star. I don't know. It's a 3-star mess kind of a thing. The elements it has, it's just being hinged together all very loosely by this Sam Rockwell kind of story and plot, which, as I say, then gives way to that ludicrous kind of The World's End, 12 Monkeys, everyone's a zombie of some LED lit persuasion kind of waffle that you've seen before in better versions. And you just can never escape it. The mess just leads you to thinking about all the different sauces that have congealed into this puddle. You know what I mean? It's like, do you know what that reminds me of? I had a really good barbecue sauce that time. I had a really good mustard that time. You know what I mean? It's like, you get to that point very quickly with it. But although, it's always fun watching Sam Rockwell do this. You know what I mean? He's always good value for money. Because, I was like, did you see him in Iron Man 2 way back when he was Justin Hammer?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, love Iron Man.
Yeah, because there was some of that high energy. Charlie's Angels, he did it as well, was one of those. So this definitely isn't like dramatic Sam Rockwell. This is clearly unhinged, like Hitchhiker's Guide, Sam Rockwell. But yeah, I just thought this was a disappointment.
Well, it's out in cinemas from today if you want to see Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Very quickly, you just mentioned there something which reminded me, zombies. I saw 28 Years, Bone Temple last weekend. Amazing movie.
You did.
Loved it. Absolutely gripped for the whole... And it was one of those movies, and I know I enjoyed it when this happens. It just finishes, and you sat there in the cinema, and you think, oh, I could have had another half an hour of that.
Right. Especially given where it ends.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, bring on part 3.
Great place to end. But yeah, no, it was a good movie. I would highly recommend going to see that, especially if you've obviously seen the previous one.
Did you 4DX it again? Did you 4DX again this
time?
No,
I didn't want Whiplash this time, so I left that out. But yeah, no, it was a really good movie, so highly recommend that while it's still out.
Fantastic.
Right, we've still got 3 movies to look at this week. Cold Storage, The Moment, and next we'll see what Van thought to Man on the Run. So stay with us. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. 2 more movies to talk about now. We're going to look at The Moment in a second, but first, Man on the Run, which if you are a Paul McCartney and Wings fan, you'll know that's a play on the words Band on the Run, which is one of their songs. Hence, this is a music documentary about the man himself, Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Sir Paul McCartney.
He is. Yeah, forgive me for that.
Who does seem to actually have been quite actively involved in this. Like he is. There's a lot of voiceover by him. Like I think he's agreed to do this in voiceover form, over archival footage, and personal recordings that have been made available to the filmmakers, etc. And it is the chronicle of a very specific period in the life of Sir Paul McCartney, and it's that period at the very end of the Beatles, from pretty much the exact point that they decided to split and how the split began, that's only really for like 10 minutes, but then where McCartney goes next, who he is without the Beatles, and how he has to go and effectively find himself, what it is that keeps him anchored, and where he eventually goes to, which, as you point out from the title, means obviously the formation of Wings, and means songs like Band on the Run, and of course, as my good friend Chris Wilson put it, the greatest non-Beatles song by a Beatle, Live and Let Die, of course. Which is, you'd agree, right? Live and Let Die?
100% agree with that. I mean, Live and Let Die, I actually played it on my radio show today. It's an iconic song. And it's actually one of the best songs to ever watch synchronised fireworks to.
Fair play, I would take that under advisement. Okay, so it's a documentary about this specific period in the life of Sir Paul McCartney. Have a listen.
The Beatles have been my whole life, really. When we split up, I thought, I'll never write another note of music ever. I had fear of being a grown-up. I felt very depressed, but I was very lucky because I had Linda.
Whoa, beautiful.
I said, if I form a new band, do you want to be in it? And she kind of, yeah. Okay, well, we got 2 members. We started Wings from square one. This Paul McCartney of Wings. It was about trying to do something different.
I just love all the archival footage that's in this. And anyone who was around in that era is going to absolutely love seeing all of this stuff again. And anyone who wasn't is also going to enjoy watching it.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, there's not an awful lot I can say critically about it, because it's a very standard kind of musician, not really a biopic, just one of those musician chronicle, era chronicle documentary type things, because obviously it covers a very specific period. You kind of have to know who the Beatles are going into it, kind of thing. But actually, I came away from this actually feeling quite upbeat on Paul McCartney, and he's someone I usually give kind of a hard time to. But I thought this was quite interesting, quite compelling. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's only in cinemas for a week, and then it's over to Amazon Prime for next Friday. So it's on Prime Video next Friday, strangely. But
wow,
yeah, it seems a waste. But the thing is, as well, it stands in really interesting contrast to the other musician-related movie of the week, which we've got next. So it was an interesting thing to watch, like on the same day as, you know what I mean?
Did you feel like afterwards you learnt something though about Paul McCartney and the Beatles?
I felt like I had more of a handle on sort of how Paul McCartney's mind works, how he sees the world, kind of thing. Actually, it did give me a little bit more of an interesting insight into the split of the Beatles. Because for one thing, you get McCartney's version of it and his sort of attempt at being candid about it. And it just kind of seems like, oh, I'm sorry, I kind of thought we were already split. Oh, sorry.
I didn't know that happened. That's great info.
No, the story as McCartney tells it is that John Lennon had said, I think I'm leaving the Beatles, and they were all like, okay, cool. He said, he said something like, I think I'm going to have to leave the Beatles, and they were like, oh, okay, well, sorry to hear it, man, cool. And then, like, seemingly to them, he just showed up the next day, assuming that there would be more of a conversation about it, and there just wasn't. But yeah, and McCartney obviously seems to have taken it on board that he had left but was sticking around, kind of thing. And then when he wanted to move on, was then given the blame for splitting up the Beatles because it wasn't seemingly taken as official. That's how McCartney tells it.
There's always 4 sides to every story.
There really is. We need a new Ringo doc now.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to check it out, you can see Man on the Run in the cinema for a week, as Van said, and then next week it will be on Amazon Prime for you to watch from home. Right, let's move on to our next movie then. It's called The Moment, and this is a mockumentary.
It's fascinating. Okay, no, I don't want to call it a mockumentary, actually, because I think that's disingenuous. This is a narrative drama that is filmed in the style of a documentary. So it has that fly on the wall, kind of The Office type quality to it. And it follows Charli XCX as herself, a fictionalized version of herself who's hyper anxiety ridden and is on that sort of that peak of fame moment when Brat Summer happened. When Brat happened.
Yeah.
And so the idea here is that she's playing a fictionalized version of herself in a sort of alternate imagined, story based off the back of that moment. Here, whereby kind of the record company try cheaply capitalizing on it in way more of a shameless way than actually happened in reality, kind of a thing. They thrust a concert filmmaker onto her, for instance, who then clashes with the creative director, her friend, who is tasked with kind of bringing Charli XCX's quote-unquote vision to life. And then in the mix you have this filmmaker who's played by Alexander Skarsgård, and he's this sort of menacing, mincing, scenery-chewing panto villain type. But of course it's all played for realsies, as if like for a documentary. It's insane. It's absolutely... It's as good or as bad as I've just made it sound for you personally. You know what I mean? So have a listen. This is one of those sequences in which Alexander Skarsgård is starting to stick his beak in there.
It's supposed to feel like a nightclub. That is what we do. That is what we are good at. totally respect that opinion,
Okay.
obviously. But I have to say that I think we're slightly misaligned here. I'm trying to tell a story here, okay?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a nightclub is not a story. A nightclub is a nightclub.
Right.
And at some point, the night has to end, and they turn on the lights, and you, like... And then the next morning, you wake up, and it's like, wow, my head is pounding. What's happening? Whoa. You know, maybe you even took illegal drugs.
God forbid.
Whereas a story can be told and retold,
Yep.
passed down from fathers to sons, and obviously from mothers to daughters as well.
I've got to say, from watching the trailer, I think they've done it really well because it looks all genuine. It doesn't look like it's mocked up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what the film was until I was sat watching it. Obviously, I figured it out in a couple of minutes. I'm like, okay, clearly, because, you know, Alexander Skarsgård would sort of get recognised as Alexander Skarsgård, so this clearly is not real.
Yeah. But without that, would you have thought that it was real?
Oh, no, tell a lie, it was Jamie Demetriou I recognised. I'm like, oh, okay, he's an actor, so I know that this is obviously, this isn't a real documentary. Okay, fair enough. And it works. The gimmick actually works. I thought this was actually quite good fun. I mean, I'm mostly here for the Skarsgård villain because he's the absolute scene stealer of the whole movie. Like, he is just the reason to see it. He's such a laugh in this. But the actual story, Charlie XCX, is kind of a boilerplate, you know, pressures of fame kind of story, that moment of whether or not to push forward and sell out kind of thing or hold on to your creativity. We've seen the story done before, but I think it's the novelty of seeing this done with this particular talent in this particular way is, I think, a unique enough spin on the material. So I actually think this is worth checking out. It's very interesting to see this contrasted with, you know, the era chronicle of the McCartney one. You know what I mean? Also, by the way, there's a ton of cameos and things. To the moment. I keep calling it the Charlie XCX one. The Moment, as it's called. So you've got like Rosanna Arquette as the record executive. You've got Skarsgård, Rachel Sennott, and I think Kylie Jenner turn up as themselves. And they were weird scenes because they seem to rely on you knowing certain celeb gossip that I don't.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's something to the humor of those scenes where I'm just like, okay, I'm not following the particular narrative of that one, but sure, like, cool, like, congrats on getting that person in there. You know what I mean? But they're obviously there to cater to kind of the demographic and audience who are, of course, Charlie XCX fans. So it makes complete sense. But yeah,
it's called The Moment. It's in cinemas from now, if you do want to go and see it. Right, we've got one movie left, and then we're going to look ahead to some of the big movies that are out next week. So we'll see what Van thought to Cold Storage in just a sec. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen for one last ride this week. Then we are diving into the dark comedy, splatter horror, body horror comedy, if that's right, called Cold Storage.
Are those the various subgenre descriptions above it on IMDb? That's phenomenal. I love it. Okay. Cold Storage. New sort of kind of low budget teen horror kind of a movie from a British TV director, Johnny Campbell. He's directed things like Doctor Who and things like that over the last few years. It stars among its cast Liam Neeson, Leslie Manville, Joe Keery, and Georgina Campbell. And it is about a storage facility, like a self-storage facility that you rent, like one of these type facilities. I think it's like in remote Idaho or something like that in the States. And it turns out to have been built on an old decommissioned US military research facility, which two night shift workers, Joe Keery and Georgina Campbell, happened to stumble into whilst kind of exploring and amusing themselves one night, and find themselves facing off an invasion of a lethal mutant fungus which threatens to consume everything in its path and effectively reanimate the dead. So, have a listen. Sorry, Liam Neeson is also there, and he turns up with a nuke to try and help them. Have a listen.
You have to go back downstairs to place this device. It has a selectable yield. 0.3, 5, 10, or 80 kilotons. We'll go with 3. maybe 5. What the hell?
Wait a second. You brought a nuke? A nuke? A suitcase bomb?
Listen to me. It is not a suitcase bomb. There is no such thing as a suitcase bomb. What kind of invading ground force carries suitcases?
That is a nuke. What are you, nuts?
Have you seen what the fungus can do?
You're gonna kill everybody in eastern Kansas, man.
We're not killing anyone. Detonation will be hundreds of feet underground.
I'm sorry. Hearing Liam Neeson
Yeah,
in
I
a
know,
really
right?
serious voice say, "Do you know what that fungus can do?" Just
I know, right? Yeah.
wow.
Oh,
Please tell me it's better than it sounds.
Actually, I had a pretty good time with it. It's the kind of film we don't really see many of anymore. It kind of plays like Return of the Living Dead. Sorry, the sort of cheap 80s splatter movie, Return of the Living Dead. Kind of plays like that for the Stranger Things crowd. And you can't really avoid the Stranger Things comparison because, you know, Steve Harrington is right there in front of you. You know, Joe Keery is kind of right there. So there's a certain element that they're kind of banking on here. And then Neeson obviously brings a certain level of adult authority, you know, kind of to it all. Even though he's quite clearly playing it a lot younger skewing than the rest of the movie. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I think Liam Neeson thinks it's more of a kid's movie than it is.
Oh,
Like,
no.
in a strange way. But it mostly works. I was quite into it because I really enjoyed the sort of inventive ways that they dealt with this fungus, the way it penetrates objects and the way it infects people, and it was quite inventive and zippy and fun and cool. And like there's certain sort of, you know, very worn horror tropes that you know they're going to do in this. It's effectively a sort of nasty PG-13, for lack of a better term. It's not really about the gore so much as it is the fungal type gore. You know what I mean? Like green, kind of like that. But yeah, good enough time. I say just one of those, you know, probably going to find its home on streaming. I'm sure it'll be in the Netflix top 10, you know, in a month or something. But yeah, I'm not going to complain about having seen Night of the Living. Return. Need to stop saying Night of Return of the Living Dead for the Stranger Things crowd. I think that kind of fits it perfectly, to be honest. And as that description aptly implies, not a patch on the thing it's actually homaging, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd probably enjoy it. I think for me, it was just the knowing Liam Neeson being from all those serious kind of horror movies or action movies, or, you know, the serious "I'm going to find you and kill you" and talking about like mutant fungus.
Isn't that what he sort of does now? Every time Liam Neeson has a movie out and he's doing the press for it, some junket like interviewer asks him to do like some comedic bit in the Taken voice. Like, I'm sure that happens like every single time he promotes a movie now. Yeah, like totally.
Yeah, he's probably annoyed at it.
I'm sure I've heard Liam Neeson do the Jet 2 holiday bit.
Really?
I'm sure that exists. I'm sure I've heard Liam Neeson reading the Jet 2 holiday ad script.
In that voice?
Yeah. In that, I'm sure I'm not making that up.
Brilliant. I want to find that, absolutely. But
I'll find you a link, sir.
If you want to see Liam Neeson talk about mutant fungus, you can see Cold Storage. It is out in cinemas from now. Right, there's quite a long list, Van, of movies we're covering next week, so I'll let you dive into that one.
Oh God, next week. Hang on. I'll be really honest. I haven't looked up what most of these movies are. I've been so focused on like getting into screenings and things. Next week we have Surratt. I don't know anything about Surratt off the top of my head. We've got The Testament of Anne Lee, which I believe is Amanda Seyfried. That's Amanda Seyfried's new movie. So, it's one of those we have to say welcome back, Queen, on that one, because I kind of missed her. I never realised how much I missed Amanda Seyfried being in movies all the time. Molly versus the Machines, I don't know anything about, although I do know that it's sadly not a sequel to The Mitchells versus the Machines. I was kind of hopeful, I'm not going to lie. Documentary Palestine Comedy Club next week, which is about what it says on the tin. It's about a comedy club in Palestine, like dealing through the last couple of years in Palestine, so you can imagine on that one. There's an anime adaptation, All You Need Is Kill, is out next week. The reason this is of note to me in particular is because All You Need Is Kill is the story that got adapted into Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, in which the guy relives the day over and over in an alien invasion. Yeah, the original text, which apparently the movie deviated quite far from. That's next week. Go on.
The next movie makes me laugh if you go to IMDb. Now, it's Elvis Presley in concert. And it says, I love how it says director Baz Luhrmann. Brilliant. I mean, it's going to be good if Baz Luhrmann's directing it. Then it just says stars Elvis. That's it.
Yeah, of course. No, the whole thing, as far as I understand it, because I know some guys who've seen it and are absolutely fanatical about it. James King, he saw it quite early and he was really hot on it. I know Mark, well, of course Mark would be in it. He was a big Elvis guy anyway.
It's going to be huge.
Well, the whole thing is that Baz Luhrmann, when he was making the Elvis movie, apparently got access to materials that had never been seen before. Wow. And has apparently unearthed all the stuff that is in this movie. That's why he's made it. He's intercut the stuff he's found with the concert movie. Hence, EPIC, Elvis Presley in Concert / Epic. I'm looking forward to this. And apparently big IMAX deal as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's got so many fans all around the world. It's that we're going to be talking about that being number one in the box office for weeks, I reckon. Just watch this space. Yeah, I reckon.
It's possible. It's entirely possible, to be fair. I think with something like that there is the potential for a sort of breakout moment.
And then, next week, we are going to be talking about Scream 7.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to get to see it yet, but we shall.
Hope so.
I mean, let's hope so. I mean, we can just look up who's distributing it, but we'll see if I get. We'll see if I get to see it. I mean, I'd like to. I'm a Scream fan. See, I mean, I'm a Scream fan. Are you a Scream fan?
Yeah, oh, hell yeah. I mean, Scream for me, and probably for many others around our age, was probably one of the first kind of horror movies that I was allowed to watch.
I think so, because I think I was about 13 when the first Scream came out. So yeah, it would have been like you would have just been at that age finally where you could properly enjoy horror movies, like and legally be allowed to as well, for sure. So I think the first Scream thing's a 15. I think it's quite a hard 15. But absolute game changer. I still go to screenings of it every year or so. Did a Halloween one, outdoor Halloween one last year, I think.
Oh no, brilliant! I must go and see the first one again next time it's shown in like a big screen. I'd love to do that. So yeah, loads of movies that we're going to talk about next week, providing Van gets to see them all. We shall see about that. That's about it for this week. We will be back next week for Off Screen. Until then, have a good week. I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Van Connor. Keep it cinematic, and we shall return.
Crisp, refreshing, and unmistakably tasty. Ice cold Coke Zero Sugar. It's the only drink with real Coca-Cola taste and zero sugar.